This is the Manga Xanadu Manga Dome podcast. I am your host, Laurie Henderson. Join me on this journey into the world of manga, where a river of reviews flow through caverns of commentary down into the latest news. Welcome to the Manga Dome. Episode 22, Alice in the Country of Hearts. The crowdsourcing manga translation site Manga Reborn has turned to crowdsource funding to try and secure funds to get the rights and translate 10 different titles. It's an interesting collection of titles coming from different eras and containing different genres: sci-fi, horror, action, comedy, and romance. The positive of this Kickstarter is that it is probably the only way that these titles will be made available legally, or even at all. The negative is that the manga will not be downloadable. Like J-Manga, Manga Reborn is a read-online only site. If you don't mind that, check out the levels they're offering. It's hard to say what titles will retail for when they finally come out, but by supporting the Kickstarter, you can get all 10 titles for a pledge of $100. That's $10 for all the chapters of a title, which could be a very good deal, since Manga Reborn lets the authors decide on the pricing of their books. Check out the titles and see if you think it's worth it. It's currently at $895 of its $6,000 goal, with hopes of funding before the beginning of November. Over at Vizmanga, the sale is over, and this is the last month to buy their titles at the $4.99 price before it gets jacked to $6.99. Sorry, we have to raise our prices because we keep making our titles available to more people is just lame. Anyway, the top 10 for the week of August 27, 2013 see some debuts to the list and the usual 3 shoujo, though they are mostly pushed to the bottom. There is a new number 1 this week, and it's the new volume of Nisekoi, Volume 5. Right behind it is Cross Manage Volume 2 at number 2. Former number 1 Naruto Volume 62 falls 2 to number 3, while the first shoujo debuts at number 4 with Skip Beat Volume 1. Shonen Jump alumni Yu Yu Hakusho Volume 1 rounds out the top 5 at number 5, while the card game duels continue in Yu-Gi-Oh! R Volume 2 at number 6. Nisekoi makes a sneak second appearance with Volume 4 moving up 1 to number 7, with Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Volume 7 coming in at number 8. Shoujo finishes out the list with Happy Hustle High Volume 4 at number 9 and Hanakimi Volume 6 at number 10. The double dipping we see this week is interesting. Nisekoi and Yu-Gi-Oh! Both have 2 volumes each on the list, but I think Nisekoi's appearance is more telling. 2 consecutive volumes, with the older one moving up the list to catch up to the newest, is an event that usually only happens with Naruto or popular OOP titles. Nisekoi isn't the new Naruto, but it really has developed quite a following. It will be interesting to see if print sales can duplicate the digital in January. 2 new titles debut this week. Both were mentioned in the Shoujo Beat panel at Japan Expo. Sugar Princess is a 2-volume all-ages story of Maya Kurinoki, a girl whose attempt to get her younger brother out onto the ice skate ring gets her noticed by skate instructor Eishi Todo. He vows to make her a skating princess, but she must first convince famous skater Shun Kano to be her partner, who wants nothing to do with her. It's a cute 2-volume series that, even though it has princess in the title, doesn't pour on the saccharine goodness. It's a fun title skating fans will enjoy. Basara is a notorious out-of-print series that is finally returning to print through digital. It is the story of a young girl, Basara, who, in a post-apocalypse world, becomes the child of destiny and finds the strength to free her people and seek revenge for the death of her older brother. This title was one of the most popular shoujo titles in the 90s and is still loved and sought out today. This digital edition will reintroduce the series to a whole new generation that has grown up on shoujo manga and may be able to appreciate it more now than when it was originally released. Alice in the Country of Hearts, Volumes 2 to 3. I read the first omnibus volume of Alice in the Country of Hearts, and while I was mildly interested in the story, I didn't like a lot of the characters, including Alice. But I decided to read the last 2 volumes and finish up the series and see if it got any better. Surprisingly, it did. I did find my interest in characters grew as more was revealed about them. Some I found I had a change of heart, and some just cemented my feelings about them. There are some intriguing twists, including the end, but I think what I liked most about it was that everyone in the Country of Hearts wasn't really in love with Alice, just interested for different reasons. Alice in the Country of Hearts Volumes 2 to 3 is written by Quinn Rose with art by Some Hoshino. It is published by Yen Press and is rated older teen. It is a romance and retails for $18.99 each. Volume 2 covers Japanese volumes 3 to 4, and Volume 3 covers volumes 5 to 6. Volume 2 opens with Alice returning to the clock tower after the revelation of what Julius is really doing with all of the clocks he repairs. When Julius learns Alice isn't bothered by what he does and even wants to help him, his interest in her changes. This flip-flop of feelings happens quite a bit in this volume. Julius's interest in Alice grows, while Ace grows to hate the attention everyone gives her and even threatens to kill her. Blood cuts to the bone over Alice's continued comparison of him to her former lover in her world, while Vivaldi opens up to Alice and tells her some of her most private secrets. Alice tries to avoid Blood, but in Volume 3, a ball held by Vivaldi brings everyone together at the Heart's Castle, and Alice confronts Blood. They come to an arrangement, but time is running out for Alice. Her vial is nearly full, so she will be returning home, or waking up from her dream. She doesn't say goodbye to everyone and just disappears, though it is felt throughout the Country of Hearts. But Blood, who has been holding back his feelings through his hostility toward Alice, goes to her world to bring her back by making her drink the liquid again. Although she puts up a superficial fight, she is actually happy to return to her friends and be with Blood, and the reality that they have been trying to keep from her fades away again. After reading the first volume, I had decided that the only characters I liked were Julius and Elliot the March Hare, and I was more interested in the mystery of the Country of Hearts than in the relationships of the other characters that I really didn't like. These last 2 volumes turned me around about a few of the characters. Vivaldi was played up very much as the queen in her head chopping, but more of her past is revealed, and she has shown she can be a normal girl with normal wants and jealousies. The King of Hearts is also finally introduced, though his part is minimal. I grew to like Vivaldi as she becomes Alice's only female friend and vice versa. Ace became a more interesting character than just the ever happy-go-lucky knight who always gets lost. His attempts to escape his role and his disdain for everyone else liking Alice made him more than just a potential love interest. I really liked that he wasn't interested in Alice the way the others seemed to be, and that his perpetual smile was fake. Alice is, of course, able to change his mind, but only in not killing her. His only interest in her is to hear her heart beating, which is so different from their ticking clock hearts. Surprisingly, I also had a change of heart regarding Blood. I didn't like him in the first volume, and wasn't liking him through the second and most of the third. He worked very hard to be a complete jerk to Alice for seemingly no other reason than she existed. It wasn't until the middle of Volume 3, when Gowland points out how different Alice and Blood's relationship is to everyone else's, that I started to see him differently. He's more like the boy who picks on the girl he likes, and when his barbs become less personal and more playful, I found I could like him. I didn't have a change of heart over Peter. He's still annoying and manipulative, especially when he takes on his bunny form. I also didn't care for his indiscriminate shooting of the servants at the castle. I just can't imagine the twins, Dee and Dum, ever being anything other than homicidal maniacs. They are the characters I dislike the most. The mystery of the Country of Hearts is never really answered. Clues are dropped, mostly at the end, but it's all so vague that it could be just about anything. Everyone in the Country of Hearts seems to know a secret about Alice that they aren't telling, and that they don't want her to remember. Peter seems closely tied to the secret, and appears to be tied to Alice's older sister. We are given a glimpse as to what the secret is, and why the residents want to keep it from her, but really more questions are left hanging than answered. There were some other nice twists, such as the truth behind Vivaldi and Blood's relationship. I don't know if I'm completely satisfied with the pairing of this main series, but it does all tie well together, so I can't really complain. I really shouldn't be surprised that I ended up liking Alice in the Country of Hearts. Manga based on Otomo games are a guilty pleasure of mine, so this falls right up my alley. I like that I could develop feelings for the characters one way or the other rather than feeling meh for them all. I think I've grown attached to the Country of Hearts, and also its faceless inhabitants. I really enjoyed how happy they were about going to the ball, and how enthusiastic they were about teaching Alice to dance. Now I'm curious about the other 2 titles, Alice in the Country of Clover and Joker. There is a glimpse of Joker at the end of Volume 2. I really need to stop fighting my guilty pleasure and let myself dive in every so often. Alice in the Country of Hearts turned out to be a fun dive. I give Volume 2 a 3.5 out of 5 and Volume 3 a 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you for listening to the Manga Xanadu Manga Dome podcast. You can find links to the stories and books discussed here in the show notes at manga.jdragononline.com. You can email me with any questions at xanadu@jdragononline.com or leave a comment on this post. Rate me on YouTube and follow me on Twitter at Manga Xanadu, all one word. Until next time, Farewell from the Manga Dome.